Now you can see now it's broadcast. Yeah. The guy who's gonna talk, he asked me to get the camera because he's moving. Oh, you got it.
So from here you can switch seats. So you can.
With the
Good morning, everybody. How's breakfast? Good. Great, wonderful.
just yesterday.
Also here today at our Montgomery Public School Leadership Matters Retreat. I hope you've been able to enjoy the beautiful facility that we're at this weekend. And really thank you all for traveling so far. Many of you traveled very far to come. So thank you so very much for that. Today is going to be wonderful, especially our general session today. In addition to learning about the many exciting developments that are happening in Harmony, you'll also be treated to a very inspiring keynote address, as well as be able to view brand new HPS promotional videos that have been created recently throughout our session today. So my name is Brittany Lewis. I work for the Central Office in the Communications Department. I'm a communications specialist, and I have been working with Harmony Public Schools for about 4 years now. And I have to say it's probably some of the most rewarding work that I've ever done. So I'm so very happy to be with you guys today. Before we get going, I'd like to recognize a few people. We have, and some of these folks may not quite be here yet. Ms. Ella McDonald, who serves as our vice president on our board for Harmony Public Schools. And we also have some special guests, which we'll get from them a little bit later on in the program. But I'd like to actually ask Debbie Schultz and, Debbie Jones and Jeff Schultz to stand and let us give you a round of applause just really quickly. Thank you so much for coming. Wonderful. So if I could actually ask all of you to stand for the singing of the national anthem and the recitation of the pledges, please. And we will recite the pledges first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, indivisible. Thank you. Oh, say, can you see why the dawn's early light? What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare that was
No.
started.
Just download.
We're excited to open a speaker.
Speaker
I'd like
will
to
take it
introduce
to sound bag.
Dr. Mohan. He's our new Director of Leadership Development, and he'll be offering a few opening words as well as introducing our keynote speaker. Dr. Cooner?
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Good morning, Harmony leaders, supporters, and distinguished guests. It's exciting to be here with you today. Thank you for taking time away from your families and joining us at this beautiful resort for the leadership sessions. When we first started the planning of the Harmony Leadership Retreat, we agreed with our chief officers that we needed a gathering where our campus leaders not only enjoy the program, but also benefit from the content and feel appreciated for all you do for Harmony every single day. We are a big family now with 43 campuses, more than 2,500 employees, and 200 administrators. It is believed that the whole is only as good as the sum of its parts, meaning Harmony is as strong as its employees and campus leaders are. Therefore, we carefully selected the theme for this year's retreat. Leadership matters. As a Harmony leader, what you do at campuses is very important and it matters to us. How you lead your teachers, parents, and students makes a difference, and Harmony's success depends on all of you. As a token of appreciation, we would like to celebrate successes today. When we look at our track record for 12 years in operation, it clearly proves that we have accomplished so much together. We envision a future with even more goals and successes to be accomplished together. Today we will hear about just a few of the many successes from this past year. Lastly, I would like to review the booklet with you very quickly. I am sure you have received it. If you open the second page, by the way, did you like the dinner cruise last night? Yes. Another surprise, today we have a movie night at 9 p.m. You are all invited. We are featuring the Mr. Holland's office with popcorn free and drink. The following page you will see the floor plans and the program, the session details, everything in the booklet. Now you are also going to see room hosts in the rooms. They will be helping you to have smooth sessions. Please, if you can cooperate with them, we will appreciate it. They will be asking to take short survey at the end. Now, since this event was made possible in a very short amount of time, I would like to apologize for any confusion we caused or any problems you encountered. And thank you for your patience and cooperation. I hope you enjoy the resort, food service, and more importantly, the sessions. I think you deserve the best, and we try our best to do that. I'd like to take a moment to thank to all organization community members for putting this great event together. And lastly, I would like to thank all of you for being a member of the big Harmony family. Now, I would like to introduce the keynote speaker, Greg Gregory. With more than 1,500 speaking events under his belt, Greg Gregory is the team-building mastermind America needs today. His client list of over 400 companies and associations offers experience and assures that Greg's thought-provoking insight is what an organization needs to produce the results we want. He began his speaking career in 1996. Today, he works with organizations helping them create a winning culture utilizing teamwork, and often referred to as a corporate speaker with a creative twist. He currently serves as President-elect for National Speakers Association's Washington, D.C. chapter, and will assume the role of President next June. Today's presentation, the Alex Effect, is a powerful presentation illustrating how taking personal responsibility and working together can impact us for years to come. This is a cell phone friendly session. In fact, have them out during the session. Just keep them on silent. Help me welcome the founder of Team Strong, certified speaking professional, Greg Gregory.
How are you, Harmony? Who is having a good morning? I am so sorry to hear that. Because good mornings are for average people. Are you average? Today is Friday, which means fantastic Friday. Tomorrow is superlative Saturday. Sensational Sunday, magnificent Monday, terrific Tuesday, wonderful, wacky Wednesday, and thriving Thursday. Notice I never anywhere say good day. So how many of y'all are doing good this morning? Okay. How many of you are doing amazingly well? Awesome, fantastic, phenomenal. That's what we're trying to strive for, folks. That's what Harmony is about, is how you can drive your teams, your employees, and your students to do amazing things. So I have a question for you. What does your school, your district look like? Hey, is everybody focused? Is everybody on the same page? Do they have everything set to the same dynamic? So let's try a little exercise. I know you've only been seated for a few moments. This will require you to stand up just a moment. And by the way, if anyone has an equilibrium problem, an inner ear infection, or vertigo, please do not participate in this exercise. So, everybody stand up where you are right now. All right. This is a tough exercise to do with such a large room, so I'm going to ask you to be cognizant of the folks that are standing around you. In a moment, I will ask you to close your eyes. I will ask you to make certain moves. In other words, think about a compass. A compass is 360 degrees, or a circle 360 degrees. I will ask you to make some turns. Those turns may be 30 or 45 degrees. They may be 90 degrees. They may be 180 degrees. I will not give you 22.5 degrees. Is that fair enough? I'm working with educators. You all understand the 360 degrees, right? Okay. So, everybody do me a favor, close your eyes right now. Gentlemen in the room, please make a 90-degree turn to your right. Ladies, make a 90-degree turn to your left. If you have been with Harmony for less than 5 years, make a 180-degree turn. If you've been with Harmony for more than 5 years, please make a 90-degree turn to your left. If your normal commute to work takes more than 45 minutes, please make a 45-degree turn to your right. Less than 45 minutes, 90 degrees to your left. your favorite topping on a pizza involves any type of meat, please make a 180-degree turn. It doesn't matter which way. All right, now this is where you have to be careful, folks. I want you to extend your right arm out in front of you and point as if you're pointing somewhere. Please do not hit anyone beside you. All right. Now I'm going to ask you to please rotate your entire body and point north. Go. Keep your eyes closed, please. Be careful not to hit somebody. Up does not count. All right. All right, hang on. Open your eyes and look around the room. We are all pointing in different directions. What is that telling you, folks? That you don't know where north is. My question is, with everybody pointing in different directions, is that how your district, your school, is operating? Are you leading effectively? Do you have everyone going in the right direction? So, just to be safe, I brought my handy, dandy little compass. And I checked it a little earlier. North. Right here. So, what I would like you to do is I would like for everybody to now face north and point for me. There you go. I love it. It's pointing right at me, isn't it? Folks, do me a favor, grab your seats. I am excited to be with you all here today. How many of you all went on the cruise last night? How was it? Let's see how much fun it was. We've got some pictures from last night's cruise. First off, we had to do a little waiting in line for food. That wasn't too bad. Then we think the selfie's going a little too far. But what about, didn't they have fun? Let's look at the guys. Then, of course, there's the sunset. And then there's pondering the sunset. And then there's quick, take a picture of me before the sun sets. And what would it have been like without dancing? Folks, it is what a little event prior to a conference beginning can do. Did you have fun last night? Yeah. Absolutely. That creates something about trusting your colleagues. And I want to talk about trust today on a level that's different than you might have ever thought about it before. I'm not talking, do you trust your colleagues to do the job they do? We're going to talk about a different kind of trust. But in order to do that, I need you to think differently. Are you all up to thinking differently, yes or no? My old friend Zig Ziglar used to say this: a mind and a parachute are very similar. They work much better when they're open. Do you have an open mind? So here's what we're going to try. I love doing this exercise with educators because what we're going to do is we're going to add some numbers. Now here's the trick in this exercise. I want to ask you to add the numbers and give me the total that appears on the screen as we go through. Now, this is a little of a teamwork exercise. There are almost 300 of you in this room. I want you to be able to try and say these numbers in unison so that we rock this off. Everybody with me? So let's start. Here we go. Our first number. Okay, let's remember that. Let's try to say these together. Okay, let's back this up. Let's try this again. Here we go. 1,000. Somebody said 1,000 again. No, I want the total. What's the total? Now, folks, this is third grade mathematics. Okay? So let's take it from the top. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
2030, 2070, 3070, 3090, 4090,
4,100.
Whoa, a lot of folks. Wait a minute. What did you say? What's your name? Yusuf. Everybody give Yusuf an applause. He got it right. So why would you all say 5,000? Let me help you with that. We tend to get into a rut. How many people drive the same way to work every day? That's a rut. How many change the way they go to work every day? It's important, right? The only difference between a rut and a grave is about 6 feet. We need to think. Sometimes we get into a rut. A teacher may come to you in the administrative office and say, can we do this, can we do this, can we do this, can we do this? And you're going, yes, yes, yes. And then they come and say, can we do that? And you answer yes for this, when it was really that, which was no. We've got to be cognizant. Leadership matters. Leadership matters. And it's not something you do every now and then. It's not something you do every now and then. It's something you do every day. That's what you're looking at. So here's the question. What do these companies have in common? Hey, David's not going to do it. What are these companies? Marriott, Nordstrom's, Southwest, Disney, and Google. Wait again? Great leadership. What else do they have in common? Phenomenal customer service. What else? Very successful. I heard something over here. Happy employees. These organizations are constantly rated among the best places to work. I was recently out in Palo Alto, California, not far from Google's world headquarters. I took a little drive to drive by their campus. Wow. Do you know that Google campus has a 5-star restaurant open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? They received more job applications in one day than most every other place receives in probably 10 years. Marriott, stayed at the Marriott Hotel. Now, does this mean they're constantly providing amazing service? No, there could be a hiccup every now and then. How many have ever shopped at Nordstrom's? Quick question, how many have ever returned something to Nordstrom's? How many have ever had a problem in returning something? Never. Never. Why? Nordstrom's is about providing amazing service. It's just not the individual service. Nordstrom's, Marriott, Southwest, Disney World, Google is about providing amazing service, both individually and as a team. They all have a winning culture, and that's what we're looking at. That's the strength of what we're going to have some fun with. So, how many of you all are technically savvy? You think you are? Well, tell you what, pull your cell phones out. Pull your cell phones out. I know you've always been told, please turn your cell phones off during your presentation. I'm going to ask you to please turn your cell phones on. I'm going to ask that they be in silent. And what I want you to do, I have to give my disclaimer. 1 second, please. We're about to send you a text message. For those of you who do not have unlimited texting, standard text messaging rates will apply. So what I want you to do is send a text message. You're going to send it to the number 22333. You'll text the words Teams Rock. No space. You don't need to be capitalized. I do that for ease of reading. Now, you will get a response back from a software program called Full Everywhere. Folks, I am not trying to get your email addresses, your telephone numbers, your spam messages. I will not send you anything. You will never hear from me off of this again. I promise you. What I want to find out is about you as a leadership. So we're going to do a live poll. Keep your fingers crossed. I want to know what is your biggest challenge on your specific team that you are working with. Is it dealing with conflict? Is it by chance coping with change? And what you'll do is just send the letter. So if it is coping with change, you will hit B and send that same telephone number. You can only do this once, and we'll start to get some numbers up there. We're starting to get a little reply now. So we'll see. Conflict is a big issue. A lot of folks really don't like conflict, so they tend to shy away from it. As leadership, we must address conflict. Is he coping with change? I love the expression, the only thing constant in life is change. Different personalities. Let me ask this. What would the world be like if everybody was exactly the same?
Terrible.
Boring. Yet, do we sometimes have troubles dealing with different personalities?
Yeah.
What about trust? Is it difficult to build trust? Or look at it from another way. How difficult it is for you to trust people? Is it difficult for you to trust the people you work with? That's what we're looking at. And feedback. As leaders, do you have to give feedback to your teams? Do you have to give both positive and negative feedback? Some of you think feedback means negative, and that's not true. Where are my principals in the room? Let me see your hands for a second. What do you think goes through a student's mind when the teacher in their room says, you need to go see our principal? What happens when they hear those words? Well, I'll tell you, this was 11th grade for me. I had never been sent to the principal's office in my life. And I walked into my 5th period English class. My English teacher, Miss King, said, Mr. Gregory, Mr. Tracy wants to see you in his office. What were the first words I said? What did I do? She says, I don't know, you've just been told. Now, I went to a very large high school, so I took the longest way possible to get to the principal's office. I kind of walked like this all the way back. I was scared. I walked into the main office, and I said, I was told to come see Mr. Tracy. They said, back to his office back there. What did I do? Just go see Mr. Tracy's office. I walked back to his office at the end of the hall. His admin was sitting there, and I says, I'm supposed to see Mr. Tracy. She says, give me right back to Mr. Gregory, have a seat. What did I do? She says, Mr. Tracy will discuss it with you. I sit down. I was parched. I needed something to drink. Mr. Tracy walks in. Good morning, Mr. Gregory. My office. I walked in. What was the first thing I said to him?
What did I do?
I didn't do it. Mr. Tracy, in his wisdom, said to me, he said, Mr. Gregory, don't you think you want to know what you're being charged with before you plead innocent or guilty? Whoa, that's deep. I said, well, yeah, I guess so. He said, Mr. Gregory, last weekend was our homecoming week. The committee to work with the junior class float for the parade at homecoming. I said, yes, sir. He said, now I understand that they had a problem with the vehicle that was going to tow the float that morning, and you ended up skipping the entire first half of the football game to go home to get your car, to modify the car so that we could drive the float in the parade. Is that true? Did you do that? I went, yes, sir. He looked at me and said, thank you for your school spirit. I appreciate everything you've done. Have a back to class. Wow. How many of you principals have ever brought a student into your office to praise them? Start this fall. Praise them. Praise your teachers. Praise your colleagues. Feedback is critical. So, by the way, Dave, we did not rehearse this part. Take the mouse, up on the upper right-hand side, mouse over the side where it says A. And the bars, you see the bars up there, right there, click on that. There we go, let's see what our results look like. There are your challenges. Coping with change is what this room with 132 responses have said is your biggest issue. Followed by conflict, we're getting some changes as we speak. Differing personalities, trust, and feedback is not a big issue for you, so that's good to see. These are the most common areas leaders have in this country today when it comes to working with folks. So we're going to try and have some fun today. I promise you we'll have a little fun, we're going to do a little laughing, we're going to have a little dealing with change. Here's your chance to allow a little change. What happens is we start off in our comfort zone. Those are the ways we drive to and from work every day. We're constantly comfortable with doing that. We go. In my neighborhood, they've got a major road closed down. And I've gotten caught a couple of times. Now, I go a lot of different ways, but when I go out, there's one road that takes me to Cedar Lane to Rockville Pike. Now, I live just outside of Washington, D.C. And if anybody ever been to Washington, D.C., you know what our traffic is like. Am I right? So they've got this road closed down until they completely rebuild the intersection. Cedar Lane is closed. And I've gotten caught several times driving, oh shoot, I can't go that way. So I have to go about 2 miles out of my way. What do you think that does to me when I realize that? It'll be closed for another month, and they're supposed to have it reopened. So what happens is my comfort zone, I go into what's called the denial state. Once I understand denial, oh shoot, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like this change. Then it moves me over to the stage here, where you start to have confusion. This is where I am now in dealing with the change in Cedar Lane. And then, of course, we get back into what's called the renewal phase. Actually, I'm in the renewal phase now. They closed this down in early June. I went through this model right here of having to deal with my traffic. What about you? What about the change? When you make a change in your schools, your teachers are going to have to deal with that change. You're going to go through the process right through here. That's the area. We need to get our teams understanding the power of change. We need to think about it. Now, here's what I want you to think about for me. I want everybody in the room to think of 3 people. To yourselves, I want you to think of the 3 most innovative people you can think of in history. So think of 3 people. Okay? How many folks are thinking about Albert Einstein? Okay. Henry Ford. Steve Jobs. Bill Gates. Who else are you thinking about? I'm sorry? Frank Lloyd Wright. Obama. Absolutely. Who else? Thomas Edison? Gandhi? Alexander Graham Bell?
Charles Slim.
Carlos
Slim.
Tesla. How about Ann Sullivan? How many folks are thinking about Ann Sullivan? Amelia Earhart. Mother Teresa. When I ask that question, I virtually never have an audience tell me it won't that they're thinking about. Are women innovative? Darn right. Innovative. Change. When we come up with new ideas. Now the challenge is not so much when we're focusing in on dealing with change, is the problem is never how to get new ideas and innovative thoughts into our mind. We constantly have them. Just watch the Home Shopping Network. Watch Shark Tank. We get ideas all the time. It's how to get some of the old ones out of our mind. How do we change the way we're thinking? Which, by the way, is what Steve Jobs was amazing at, isn't it? Steve Jobs got us to believe that we needed things we didn't even know we needed. I can remember my first computer. I looked at it, and they were coming out with color monitors. I said, who would ever need color monitor? Don't you remember the great quote from 1877? It was actually a memo sent out by Western Union. It says, who paying the attention to the telephone is not to be considered a serious communication device. Mr. Watson and Tom Watson from the IBM days in 1940 said, I believe there's room for about 5 computers in this room. The CEO of DEC, Digital Equipment our brains so we can think, so we can be focused. See, I truly believe Steve Jobs, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Amelia Earhart, Ann Sullivan, none of those people are what I would consider innovative. I believe they are all creative. Did Henry Ford invent the automobile, yes or no? No. He had the idea of doing what? Mass production assembly line. Did he do it by himself? What did he have? He had a team. I believe individuals are creative, teams are innovative. That's the power of what we start to recognize. So we have to think about how do we synchronize a team. Every year you have to get your team back in synchronization in the school year. And that starts off when we think about synchronizing, we have to start off with creating and coming up with new ideas. That's the strength when we look at it. And David didn't go. You want to hit me? Don't you love when that message comes up on your screen? You'll ignore PowerPoint. Creators are those people who come up with ideas. How many have ever done a session, a brainstorming session, that failed? Why does it fail? People try to start talking about the idea before they explore all the ideas. Have you ever had a brainstorming session where the brainstorm goes awry and people don't really participate? In other words, you've got some people who don't even participate with you. Why? They're not creators. Dave, if you want to go ahead and take me offline here, see if you can go reboot and see what happens. Creators are those who come up with the ideas. The advancers are the ones who push it through the team. The refiners are the ones who find the little detail. How many have ever had a new idea and you share it with the team, then all of a sudden says, that's stupid, it won't work. Or they say, well, here's the problem, I got 6 ideas of why it won't work. Is that a bad person on the team, yes or no? No, it's not. It is a refiner, and a refiner is someone who refines what needs to be done. A refiner finds the challenges and sees things nobody else does. Embrace the refiner. Do not consider them to be your negaholic. Do not consider them to be your negamaniac, because they're trying to help. And then there's the executor. I said executor, not executioner. So when you think about executing, that is critical when we start to move into things. Understand the strength of executing a process. If we grasp the concept of execute, then we can work through it. Let's try it. There we go. Round of applause for Dave, our AD. Now, you've got executors, but you also have those people that I call flexors. Those flexors monitor everything, and they fill in the gap as you work through it. Critical to understand this. Now, how many, last night, we were out on the boat, and I found out that the boat last night actually used the paddles as their sole propulsion of that vessel. I've been on a couple of other boats, paddle boats like that, and they have other means of propulsion. This group didn't do that. What would have happened if one of those paddles broken down and only, say, the left paddle continued to run? What would have happened to the boat? It would have been going like this, and the captain would have had to steer hard left to keep it coming back. It was also, what would have happened if one of those paddles together? It would have been vibration. It would have gone off course. Those paddles had to be synchronized. You have to synchronize your teams so that everybody's facing north. That's what we're looking at. So to understand that, there's a process that we go through. Do we have anybody in here that came through the ranks in education, working in the physical education world? What's it like to run track? Hard. Well, we're going to look at the world records for the 400-meter outdoor dash as well as the 400-meter outdoor relay. So we're going to talk about these a little bit and why they work so well and why it provides teamwork and change. So we're going to start here by looking. This is the London Olympics 2012. This is the gold for the 400-meter relay. Now I want you to keep your eyes on the Jamaican team, right here. Watch the Jamaican team as they go through. Now in the relay race, what do they have to do? Pass the baton. And can they pass it anywhere they want? No. They have a very defined area to make the handoff. So as the Jamaican team starts to go down the road, the American team is right with them. So watch as they start to run through this and try to listen closely to the audio. And let's see what happens here as we go. Dave, you want to hit for me?
American champions has gone very strongly to the USA and Jamaica come on very, very strongly doing it. Here goes the Jamaican changer goes to Nick, and all of a sudden Tyson Day versus Jordan Blake, and Blake's winning this one. Here comes Usain Bolt. He has the button, and Bolt passes it not really. And Usain Bolt is moving away. And Jamaica retain their time for 36.85, and the world record has been taken apart. Oh, I say, what a way to finish an Olympic Games. The world record has gone. That is an astonishing time, 36.85. That is unbelievable. And the national record for the United States, 36.84. It's been rounded down.
6.84 seconds. Did you hear what they said in going from the second to the third handoff? They said the Jamaican team had an amazing handoff. In track and field, handoffs are critical. In business, handoffs are critical. As the Central Office for Harmony Public Schools hands off the processes and things that they want to do, it is critical for the principals in the schools to be able to take those handoffs. Those principals then give it to the staff and the administrators, which then give it to the teachers, which then give it to the students, and it's all about handoffs. So what happens? You know, the dash, the world record meter, 36.84 seconds. The dash, 43 seconds. What happens when the handoffs are not right. The United States women's team several years ago had a handoff that failed miserably in the pre-qualifying round, qualifying levels. They didn't even make it run in the gold medal race, and they were the ones favored to win. But they had a poor handoff. How are your handoffs? Are you leading and making effective handoffs as you go through things? That's what we want to look at. We also got to look at something else. Understanding how to lead with influence is also critical. How do you lead using influence? We start by building trust. And I want to talk about what I mean. I don't mean, do you trust your colleagues, the person sitting beside you right now? I mean, do you trust them? And I have the words be vulnerable. Are you comfortable enough with the people you work with to share something personal about you? So they get to work. They won't use that against you. In the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, he talks about the foundation of every team is about trust. And that trust must start at the highest level of leadership. At Harmony Global, all the way through, and then each school, it has to have trust. Because without trust, you can't do anything else, because you'll never be able to lead by example. You'll not be able to be humble, because until you can have trust, you can't be humble. So trust, build that trust. You have to be humble in order to be able to lead with influence. Take responsibility. I used to watch Mr. Tracy go down the halls at High Point High School. Mr. Tracy would walk down the hall, and I would see him go down and pick up the trash. I would see him emptying trash cans. That's what we're talking about, is accepting responsibility. You got that within everybody. A friend of mine graduated high school several years later under Mr. Tracy. He got his degree in education, has a master's. He went back to teach at that school for several years, and he worked with a lot of other principals after Mr. Tracy retired. And he said Mr. Tracy was the best people manager he had ever worked with. Are you the best leader for your teams? Are you leading with influence? Next, you've got to be able to communicate openly. Without trust, you can't communicate openly. And finally, thank you at every chance you get. Now, my father comes from the old school. My father would walk by and give a task to somebody in the office and drop it on their desk and say, "Here, back by Friday." And he'd walk away. He'd say, "I'm not here to kiss somebody's butt to get them to do the job that we're hiring them in the first place. Sit down, shut up, and work." How many of you all like to work with somebody like that? Not easy. That's what we're talking about. It's a different school, it's a different train of thought. We've got to make sure that we are focused in on leading with influence. So how do we lead with influence? Leading with influence comes down to those items, but it also comes back to these 10 little words. It was September 1973. I know some of you are going, "Oh my God, that's 10 years before I was born." September 1973, I was sitting in my high school class. It was my junior year. It was Mr. Tracy's first year at High Point High School. He had an assembly. Now, my high school graduating class had 151 students. We had 3 years in there at that time. 9th grade was still part of middle school. So we had 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. We had about 700 plus students in each class. That means over 2,000 students in my high school. Mr. Tracy, his first year there, wanted to have an assembly. And he brought everybody into the gymnasium on a hot summer day, because it was mid-September. No air conditioning in the gymnasium. We're all packed in there like a can of sardines. I'm sitting up in the bleachers. They have chairs side by side and not nearly as comfortable as the ones you have here. 2,000 people in that gym plus. Students, administrators, and a small that Tracy stood at, and he began to chat, and let's face it, I'm a junior boy in high school. Am I listening to the principal? What's more important to a junior boy in high school? Somebody one time said the girl sitting next to me. Guys, when I was in high school, the girls did not sit next to me. It was either girls, cars, sports, or food, depending on what time of the day or the day of the week it happened to be. Let's just face it, that Mr. Tracy and his speech did not make my top 5. I don't know whether I remember that story from that day or not, but I remember the story as it went on, because you see, Mr. Tracy told the same story at the class of 1974's graduation. The fall of '74, my senior year, he told the same story at another assembly. My high school graduation, June 16, 5, Mr. Tracy told the same story again. That fall, he told it again. And for 15 years, Mr. Tracy told the exact same speech every single year, twice a year. Let's face it, after hearing those words a few times, we started to mock those words. He would say this: I want to share with you the secret to success. Your secret to success comes in 10 little words. And like the Gettysburg Address delivered by President Abraham Lincoln many years ago, these are all little words. In fact, each of these 10 little words has just one syllable and 2 letters. These words don't mean much. It's when we put the power of these words in a very particular order that these words will be your secret to success. And not just your success at High Point High School yet. He said it will be your secret to your success throughout your life. Now again, I'm a junior boy, I'm probably not listening. As I graduate, I probably wasn't listening. I really didn't necessarily pay attention, even though I heard the words that were embedded into my brain. I don't know that I lived those words, or did I? Because every single year I've lived those words. From fall of 1973, I have lived those words unknowingly until about 15 years later, when I realized those words meant everything. See, I've never had a job, folks, where I relied on a salary in which to pay my bills. And life has been 100% commission in sales and real estate, or my own mortgage banking business, or my own speaking business. I had a job working radio broadcasting and doing that. That was side part-time money. I enjoyed doing that. That was my vacation money. That's all that was. It wasn't what I lived on. And I realized it was those 10 little words. It was about 17 years after I graduated high school. I'm going to a baseball game at Oriole Park at Camden Yards in downtown Baltimore when I saw Mr. Tracy coming towards me, and I looked up and I walked in. 17 years after I graduated high school. Mr. Tracy, good morning, because it was a 1 o'clock game on a Saturday afternoon. And he says, good morning, Mr. Gregory, how are you? 17 years with an average of 700 students per year. You do the mathematics. I was only called to his office once. Is that a powerful principle? You think he had a lasting impact? Let me share those words with you here. If it is to be, it is up to me. It's not up to your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. It's not up to your boss, it's not up to your schools, it's not up to your colleagues, your co-workers, it's up to you. If it is to be, it's up to me. Mr. Tracy, High Point High School. I don't know if you can see it or not, but in the background you see the 10 words. This was the picture that was taken in his office. I had the privilege to go back to High Point High School about 3 years ago, and I was asked by the then principal to come in and speak to the honor roll students. And I spoke to the honor roll students and their parents. 3 300 folks, the kids who have been able to maintain honor roll status throughout their life at the high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So as we got through this, we had no parents, we had 300 folks in the room that evening. And I told Mr. Tracy I was going to tell this story. I contacted him, and sitting in the front row was Frank Tracy. He did not want to be told that he was there. He just wanted to go under the radar. And I told the story in that room that day about Mr. Tracy. And it was the greatest moment I've had in a long time. Mr. Tracy passed away a couple of months ago. And when I went to the funeral home on a Sunday afternoon, there was over 350 people, mostly students, from every year of his graduation, who came. And we all knew the words. A friend of mine said, he says, I may be 80 years old, suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia. I won't remember my name, but I'll remember those words. That's the power. You want to lead by influence? Do that. That's what we're talking about, is being able to lead, take responsibility, being able to build exactly that. Folks, it also applies to teamwork. You see, I said, if it is to be, it's up to me, it's about teamwork. Yes, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt it's about teamwork. But you said me. Me doesn't apply to team. Yes, it does, because if you want to be part of a team, it's up to you to be a part of that team. It's not up to anybody else to hold to you. It's up to you to do it them. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part of what we get to do every day. You see, those companies I talked about earlier, Nordstrom, Southwest. How many have ever flown Southwest Airlines? What is their culture like? What? Laid back. I mean, do they have big, stiff, staunchy uniforms? No. This time of year, what are they wearing? Golf shirts and khaki shorts. What was that?
Bags fly free.
Bags fly free. Herb Callagher said years ago, he said, and this is Southwest philosophy, our number one customer is not our customer. Our number one customer is our employee. If we take care of our employee will take care of our customer. That means, as leaders, regardless of your level of leadership, you have to be humble, you have to take respect, you have to trust the people that you're leading and treat them that way. Because you take care of them, they will do the other. If you don't take care of them, what will they then do? Have trouble taking care of others. Sam Walton said, we all have one customer. They can fire everybody from the CEO on down by simply taking their business somewhere else. If Harmony Public Schools did not do a great job in educating students, would you get enrollment? Yes or no? No. If you don't get enrollment, what happens to your jobs? Bye-bye. I'm excited to know that Harmony Schools is opening up a school this fall in Washington, D.C. Congratulations. About 20 minutes from my house. Rest assured. Where are my folks from the DC group? Are you here? Look at it. Okay. Rest assured, I will stop by the DC school sometime just to see it. It's all about how we work together. Timing, cultivating, and delivering. The title of this keynote is called The Alex Effect. And this is the impact that one woman had on me almost 13 years ago. Can you believe? I mean, Mr. Tracy had that impact on me from 1973. 13 years ago. And the effect that she had on my life touches me every single day of my life today. Every day, bar none. And it's all of what Alex Shane did all those years ago. In 2001, I was doing a lot of training. I was literally on the road 120 to 130 nights a year. And I had been in Augusta, Georgia, and I drove across I-20 in Georgia, stopped and had dinner with some friends, and then drove into Atlanta, drove up to the upper northwest side of Atlanta, Georgia. And I checked into my hotel room about 10:30 at night. I was exhausted. I walked in and there was Alex, front counter. She says, "Good evening, welcome to the Atlanta night." Wow, that was even perky for me. I got a high energy attitude. Like, okay. I said, "I'm here to check in. My name is Greg Gregory." She said, "Mr. Gregory, we've got you right here. I'd like to thank you for being an outstanding Marriott Rewards member. I've got your number on file. We've taken the liberty to upgrade you, Mr. Gregory, to our concierge level on the 15th floor. Thank you for your patronage to Marriott. All I need to get you checked in is a photo ID and a credit card." Wow. And so this time I looked and recognized your name badge and it said Alex. I assumed it was hers, although she could have borrowed somebody else's. Because it is part of your uniform. It was her. So I gave her everything. She says, "Not a problem, Mr. Gregory. Here's your room key on the 15th floor." She said, "Elevators are right down the hall." She says, "Do you need anything tomorrow? How about a wake-up call, Mr. Gregory?" I said, "I'm not sure what I need to do." Believe me, that was before smartphones and alarms on your phone. I said, "I'm not sure. I'll have to check in with you a little later if I need the wake-up call or not." "Not a problem, Mr. Gregory. I get off at 11 o'clock. Todd is our night auditor. Todd will be here all night. If you need anything, just pick up the phone in your room, dial 0, and Todd will be here to help you." And this was not a resort hotel, folks. This was a standard Marriott business property in the northwest side of Atlanta, Georgia. Alex, I said, I do need one thing. I do need directions to the Cobb Galleria Center. She said, "Not a problem, Mr. Gregory, let me write those down for you." She said, "It's a little tricky because there's a lot of construction going on. What time will you be going over in the morning?" She says, "Not a problem, I'll tell you how to get there." She goes down, she picks up a piece of paper, and she comes back up and she gives me the piece of paper that she hand wrote the directions on. Now, when I talk customer service down to several levels, and I believe there are 5 diamonds. 5 diamond service is where you go above and beyond, you walk on water, and you make people want to sing your praises. Believe me, I don't sing. I tell people when I sing in the shower, the water stops running. 4 diamond service means they exceed my expectations. Correct me or not. When you walk into any place, anywhere, and you're using service with somebody, do you have an expectation of what you're supposed to get? Yes or no? Absolutely. So that is what I call level 3, meeting my expectation. Level 4 is they exceed it. Level 5 is they walk on water. Level 2 is they fail to meet my expectations. And by the way, do my expectations change whether I'm going to a McDonald's or to a Roost Chris Steakhouse? Absolutely. It's harder for a Roost Chris Steakhouse to get a level 5 diamond service from me than it is a McDonald's. Am I right? Because guess what? My expectations are a lot lower than McDonald's. Have you ever received 5 diamond service at McDonald's? I have. I was in Michigan one day. Got up for breakfast. We were heading out of my hotel, driving down. I stopped at McDonald's to get breakfast. I'm standing there ordering my breakfast. This was before they had sweet tea. Thank goodness for sweet tea. So I was standing there and I said, I ordered my sandwich with orange juice. She says, "Here's your orange juice, sir. It's going to be a minute for your sandwich. Go ahead and have a seat. We'll bring it out to you." Wow, that's nice. So I went and sat down. A minute or two later, they come out. "Here's your sandwich, sir. And by the way, here's an extra orange juice because you had to wait. We want to give you an extra orange juice. Thank you very much." Woo! That's 5 diamond service at a Mickey D's, folks. Anybody ever had 1 diamond service at a McDonald's? Because 1 diamond service is where they suck. And you just want to trash the place. Tell them how bad they are. Especially with social media. Have you noticed that? How many folks have ever gone on social media to trash a place? You're brave, you're actually admitting that. Believe me, there's a lot of folks in here who would not admit that they have done that. Well, in those days, back then, I went into a McDonald's one day and I was lunch. I had done a keynote speech in New Orleans, Louisiana. As I came out, I had a 2:30 plane to catch. It was about 12 o'clock when I finished up my presentation. And I had a couple hours, but I wanted something to eat. I come out, I'm standing on the front steps of the hotel. I look to my right, there's a McDonald's that way about 200 yards. To my left, there's a Wendy's about 200 yards. Wendy's, McDonald's, Wendy's. Unless you're in Columbus, Ohio, Wendy's usually does not have great service. If you're ever in Columbus, Ohio, you need to go to downtown Columbus to any Wendy's. They have amazing service because that's where Wendy's was founded. So I decided to go to McDonald's. So I walked down the street to McDonald's. Before I went to get my food, I decided to wash my hands. I walked into the restroom. Little bar across there. Closed for cleaning. At 12:05, in the middle of your rush hour, you're closed for cleaning. Now this morning, I went to wash my hands in the restroom here. They were closed for cleaning. She said, "Not a problem, sir. Come on in. I'll step out." The woman to be in the restroom stepped out. That was amazing service, folks. Well, that particular day at McDonald's, I stuck my head inside and said, "Excuse me, how long will you be?" A female voice on the inside says, and I paraphrase, "Till I effing finish." Wow. She didn't say effing, she used the whole word. I said, okay. I go, I get in line at the manager's line. As I'm standing at the manager's line, I get up to him and says, "Can I help you? What would you like?" I said, "Sir, before I do my order," I said, "let me just tell you what happened." And I told him. The words out of his mouth were, "I'm sorry, we're going to get you." What kind of leadership do you have there? All right. I said, "At this point, sir, absolutely nothing." And I turned and walked away. 5 diamond service, 1 diamond service. It's all over the map. Alex had written down the directions for me that night at the Cobb Galleria Center the next morning. That was 5 diamond service. Only way I could have gotten any better, she'd have taken my luggage upstairs and run a hot bath. I get upstairs to the room, and I call my wife that night. I call my wife every single day I'm on the road, regardless of where I am. And the other week I was in California traveling. I didn't get to my hotel until about 12 midnight Pacific time. That is 3 a.m. in the East. And yes, I call my wife at 3 a.m. in the East. She may not remember it, but at least we have caller ID that tells me I did call. So I get into the room, I call my wife on my phone. She answers the phone. I said, "Hi, it's me, I'm in Atlanta." She says, "I'm on the phone to Nancy, I'll call you back quick." 1. 5 minutes goes by, she calls me back, and she says, "Hollywood is sick." Now, Hollywood is our dog. My wife and I have been married this September will be 30 years. And we have no children. Hollywood is our dog. Hollywood is our child. Now, Hollywood is a purebred mutt. And I developed an acronym for the word mutt. It means most unique, treasurable creatures. Hollywood's a mutt. He's a key sound, elk hound, shepherd, lamb, wolf, and he's a special chat. And that's kind of what I've been able to figure out. That's Hollywood. I said, "What's wrong with him?" She said, "He's breathing funny." I said, "What are you going to do?" She said, "I'm taking him to the emergency room vet. There's an emergency vet 10 minutes from our house." I said, "Not a problem. It's now about 11:15. She calls me when she gets to the vet. About 12:15, she says, "They want to run some tests." She comes back about 12:30. They've got the test run. His blood cell count, his white blood cell count is off. They need to keep him overnight. But I have to pick him up first thing tomorrow morning. Yeah. I had to call the vet's office because I knew the vet's number, set up the appointment for the next morning, called the answering service and set it up. All right, I'm there, target. I show up that night, ecstatic. I'm going to bed with heart palpitations. I finally dozed off to sleep. And at 4:15, the hotel phone rang. You know what those phones sound like. I grabbed the phone. "Yo, see, even at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can sound awake." My wife on the other end, she said, "Are you sleeping?" Not now. She said, "Me either." That just fell. Hollywood just died. And I lost her. I began to cry uncontrollably in my sleep. My wife said to me, the last thing we said that time, on the phone, we were on the phone for 10 minutes, she said, "Are you okay to deliver a presentation?" I said, "I have to be, because the people are expecting 5 diamond service from me." I hung up the phone, got up, got dressed, went outside at 5 o'clock in the morning and screamed. Because let's face it, you should not scream in a hotel at 5 a.m. I come back inside, I got on the treadmill. I did 2 miles on a treadmill. Folks, look at me, I don't do treadmills. I took a shower, cleaned up, got my briefcase, got my computer bag, and I'm walking out the door. I walk down the hallway. As I get on the elevator, I punch the lobby button. I'm standing there, I don't even want breakfast, I'm not hungry. I'm just so emotional. And I get down to the lobby and I went, oh. I left the directions that she wrote down upstairs. I'm not going back to that room. I need to clean my mind. I need to clean my senses. So I immediately decided to walk to the front desk and say another set of directions. There was Alex. Alex got off at 11 o'clock at night. She spent a short night at home and was back in by 6:45 a.m. the next day. That's what the hotel industry calls a short double shift. She looked at me as I walked to the desk. "Good morning, Mr. Gregory. Are you okay?" And I couldn't speak. I finally got out the words, standing at the front counter, and said, "My dog died last night." And I started to cry at the front desk. Alex's hand came across the counter and grabbed my hand, held it tight. She said to me, "It's okay, Mr. Gregory, you're strong, you will get through this. I know you, Mr. Gregory. Just from talking to you last night, you're strong, you will get through today. I know you will." She never said, "I'll get over it." She said, "You'll get through it." I said, "I need directions." I left them upstairs. I remember the Galleria Center. She went and she rewrote the directions down exactly as last night. Hands them to me. It goes over them with me again. And then she takes my hand again, and then she does this. She says, "Mr. Gregory, you're strong. You will get through today." And she pulls my hands to her lips, gives my hand a kiss, and says, "Now be strong and go do what you need to do." And she pushed me away. I don't remember the day. I really don't. I came back that afternoon, got back to my hotel, got on the elevator. I don't remember anything until I walked down the hall. As I walked down the hall, I could put the key in the door, and as I opened the door back to the right, the bed is on the left. As I walked straight in, I could see, and on the foot of the bed was an envelope, and in the envelope was a card. And the inside of the card had 9 signatures from the Marriott staff. Alex signed the card right here. It says, "Mr. Gregory, I just want you to know how strong I think you are. My prayers are with you." Todd, the night auditor. It took me a couple of years to get it translated. I've been told it means with great sympathy. The one gentleman signed the card, says, "We just want to let you know the entire Marriott Hotel sharing your pain." I sat on my hotel bed and cried for almost a half an hour. And that got me through those times. See, it was Alex who did that. Alex bought the card. Alex got the card signed by the folks. For me right now, with just about anybody on this earth. Now that story happened almost 13 years ago. Not long after Hollywood died, I had Alex in a keynote speech with me one day, and I said, "We've got another puppy. I wanted another month." So about 6 or 8 weeks after Hollywood's passing, my wife and I decided to get another puppy. A golden retriever, but that's Rocky. At about a year old. Here's Rocky today. Almost 13, a lot of arthritis. But there's every day I see him, I think about this. That's it. What I'm going to ask you to do is to go back and share this story with your schools. A few years after this all occurred, I had the privilege to meet the CEO of Marriott Hotel, Phil Marriott. And I told him the story. As I did not even have a YouTube page, his office helped set me up a YouTube page. Today, I've taken that page, and that's Alex up on stage with me in Atlanta. What's interesting is 109,000 views last week. I'm at 110,000 views on there today, averaging 60 to 75 views per day. Marriott hotels use this video in their front offices for their onboarding of their training staff, their frontline folks. It's powerful. Let's share the story around the world with the general managers. So I'm going to ask you to do the same and share this. You can go to youtube.com/teamsrock. Find the videos and you'll find the link that says how one person can impact an entire team. What you might be able to hear if you listen closely is Alex say, "Now I'm going to cry." And she said to me, "I did what I did, not because I was told to. I did what I did because it was the right thing to do." As leaders, are you doing the right thing, or are you doing things right? Treat your staff better. Help them, guide them, provide the service to them. Your job is to provide 5 diamond service to your team, because leadership matters. And when you do that, your teams will provide 5 diamond service to the students, to the parents, and to the communities in which you serve. And like Alex having the effect on me, you can have that effect on others. And today, I will stay 10 to 20 miles out of my way. I will pay more money at another hotel because it's a Marriott brand property, because of what one woman did almost 13 years ago. I got to see Alex a few weeks ago. Talked to her for the first time face to face in a long time. Met her kids. Wow. A remarkable woman. Guys, I want you to have that effect on others that Alex had on me. It's been a privilege to be with you today. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. And remember, good days are for average people. You're not average. So don't late today. Fantastic. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.
Can everybody join me in another round of applause for Mr. Gregory? So as I mentioned when we began, the new academic year coming up, we're bringing many new faces as well as some recognized in new positions. So we'd like to take a very quick moment and acknowledge some of these great Harmony leaders. Once I call your group, would you please stand? If you're new to your cluster superintendent position this school year coming up, please stand so we can acknowledge you. Please stand. If you've moved to a new cluster, if you're a new superintendent, please stand. And if you're new to your campus principal position, if it's a new campus for you or you're a new principal, please stand. And lastly, if you are new to your assistant principal position, either for the first time or at a new campus, please stand. Thank you so much for taking on the great task leadership in our schools. If I could have everyone please turn your attention to the two screens. We're going to watch two short videos. And would like to tweet about this conference, and we'd love for you to do that. But if you could please use the hashtag Harmony2020, that would be awesome. Next up, the next speaker, and will give us a little more information about some of the information you saw in this video. Plan for 2020 really needs no introduction. So I'd just like to call up the CEO of Harmony Public Schools, our fearless leader for over a decade, Dr. Torreta.
It's not a good idea to follow keynote speakers. Next year, I'm not going to do that. Thank you, Greg, thanks for the presentation. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to follow keynote speakers next time. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. And I see a lot of excitement in this room, a lot of energy. And yeah, thank you for walking us for your excellent presentation. I think great news and a round of applause. I hope to see you in DC, in our new location. All right. So it is hard to believe. I have to have my clicker back. It is really hard to believe that we are now beginning of our 15th year of certification. And when we opened our door back in 2000 in Grace location, we had a mission. Our mission was to be a college prep school and prepare students for higher learning. And the invitation that I basically give to our administrators, to our teachers, I want to make sure that our mission statement is out there and this is memorized by everybody, so we can be on the same page. And just to reiterate, this mission is going to prepare students for higher learning in a safe and collaborative environment with a focus on STEM education. I think that's really critical for us. And with this mission in mind, we established our first school on Grace, and this was our first logo. We don't use this interactive, we transitioned to maybe several different logos. But so first several years for us, was incubation years. And until 2004-2005 school year, we had only Houston, Boston, Dallas locations. And we had a lot of ups and downs at the time because we wanted to educate and basically serve students throughout our state. So, and in 2000, right around 2005-2006 school year, we did our first business strategic plan. And at the time, we received a lot of attention from folks who were interested in providing funding for us to do a strong STEM school. And at the time, Gates Foundation approached us and offered that they can help us to do our business plan. So they hired a company out of San Francisco called Bridgestone. And we did our first strategic plan. At the time, the focus of our strategic plan was to really replicate this model and serve more students. So aggressive growth plan was our priority. And so with this, strategic plan, now this coming this year, we're serving over 28,000 students in 44 schools, plus a DC location. So, it's, of course, up until now, we always had aggressive growth. I don't think we're going to continue to have that kind of growth with this new strategic plan. So before I talk about strategic plan, personally, I don't like to tell a personal story, a story of mine. But I was asked several times that people know basically how we started this, Harvard School, and again, I only talk about my story only if people ask me. Sometimes they go to ask, or sometimes close. So I, just like everyone, everyone has a story to come here to this room. Everyone has a story to how they choose to be a school leader, teacher, and principal, or assistant principals. My story, almost 24 years ago, I came to the United States to help my brother, who was actually diagnosed as a cancer patient, who was getting treatment at the MD Cancer in a hospital. And at the time, I was living my PhD in Turkey and working on my dissertation. So he asked me to come help, basically, because he had 3 children and a wife. So I would actually just stay at home, taking care of the kids, or vice versa, I was staying in the hospital with him, and his wife would take care of the kids. So upon his actual situation got a little bit worsened, and went back. The doctor said there's nothing they can do. And so he went back to Turkey, and I ended up staying here, and basically went to A&M and applied to continue my PhD work there. So that's how I came to the United States. Then, started teaching at A&M as a graduate student, fundamental science courses to undergraduate students and graduate students. And I find out that a lot of kids, who come to A&M, obviously, is one of the well-respected universities in Texas, and you expect the freshmen well prepared for freshman courses, but many of them still lack simple fundamental science courses. So we began to think about how we can help the students prepare so they do not receive proper education, proper fundamental science when in high school. So myself and several other Turkish students, we began to think about how we can do something with it. So we established our foundation at the time. It's called the Cosmos Foundation, and we checked in. That's not the story, but so we established this number of foundation and come across with a professor at A&M who was actually running a charter school, and his name is Dr. Slater. Professor Slater was running a charter school because his son is autistic and no one could help his son in Bryan Station area. He began running a school as a side business, and with a couple of paying students in the corner of a church in Bryan. So he told us that if you want to really impact more students in STEM education, you can actually really make your own STEM program and apply basically and start a charter. So at the time, this was like 1998, 1999, and we got together with other colleagues, and some of them are in this room, and started preparing a proposal for the Texas Education Agency. So we started a proposal towards the end of 1999, and within a few months, actually, our charter was approved. So then the next thing was to really find a school building. Just like now, I feel that starting a school in DC that we are actually taking back 14, 15 years ago, we are doing the same thing. And writing a proposal and get a charter, I thought it was really tough, right? And once we were approved, it became so difficult to find a facility, a school building. No one really built a school for you to actually come to peace. So we were actually going door by door, forming an entire Houston fellow graduate students, mostly from Turkey, and looking for a facility. And we were so lucky that people who work at the graduate, they know we found a Jewish school there. All of the Jewish Hebrew school was moving out to their new location, and the school was empty. The school was going to be empty in the middle of summer. So we were so fortunate. We said we could lease this facility and start with 200 students. So that's how we started our first school. And I have a little picture actually from back in November 2000 that I found, and you may see, you may recognize some of the faces here. And let me see. On the right, lower right corner, our chief operating officer, Mr. Kavlar, and next to him, with right shirt, Mr. Demircan, who was a classroom student in San Antonio. Now he's going to Kansas City. And then I'm standing on the back, and then we had an assistant on the back with white shirt, assistant Mr. Greenland. And at the time he was in the front row, the first lady in the front row in the middle, who was also one of our assistant principals, Ms. Bailey. Interestingly enough, she called me yesterday. She was assistant principal first year, then her husband at the time was a Secret Service agent, got a job in DC because at the time of Governor Bush became the president. She moved to DC. And I lost track of her almost 14 years until very recently. And she worked in DC city, got her PhD from Howard University. Now she's back at the system in Alchemist. So interesting connection. So many of the people in that picture actually still with us, except the lady on the right side. And she was a social teacher. I couldn't remember her name. Anybody remembers her name? After first year, she left, I cannot bear it. And the other lady in the middle, the third lady in the middle, became Mr. Joshua, and Dr. Jessica. She was a Spanish teacher, vice graduate. She taught Spanish, and interesting enough, she married one of our board members, and they live in London now. And this summer they're coming back. So anyway, so this was a story of harmony from 2000. But many people that you see around us and at the upper level at the central office, started working with us at the proposal stage. I'm very happy that I was one very hardworking people, and from way back to 2000, and most of them are still alive. So that was for us to really go through first strategic plan, which you will see in basically blue boxes. I'm sorry, red boxes. That covers 2000, 2006. And at the time, we had only a few schools. And then after the business plan, we started really establishing schools. And our goal was to reach 35 schools by 2012. So, and we met and exceeded every one of our objectives and goals in our first business plan. Now, with the help of, after a couple of years between the ending of first business plan and then 2013, we felt that we have to actually redesign our organization and prepare another strategic plan. And this time, we engaged with Value Education Group. Jeffrey's here, maybe you want to talk about it a little later. That with their help, we wanted to focus on, instead of replicating our program, we wanted to focus on basically quality and going deep in our achievement of our students. So I don't think we're going to establish a lot of schools next 5-6 years, but still we get a lot of demand from our parents, from other foundations, that they want us to actually replicate this program elsewhere in other states. Just recently, we were in Las Vegas at the National Chancellor Conference, and Albertson's Foundation approached us, and they basically want us to open a school in Idaho and Washington State, not Washington, D.C., because they have home base in Idaho. And I told them that in Idaho there are a total of 80,000 kids. And it's very small. I don't think it's just going to fit our program. But and as part of our nature that we want to replicate, maybe establish this model in other states. But right now, I think we just want to stay in Texas, focus in Texas, and then of course, with the DC experience, hopefully within a few years we can have 4, 5, 6 schools in DC. And some of our folks from central office travel to DC. They see that there's a great need of a successful STEM program in DC. If we can be successful, I know we're going to be successful. And if we do it right in DC, I know that I'm confident that we can do a charter school, a STEM school, anywhere else in the nation. And our success in DC will bring more opportunities for our organization. Now, doing right in DC will open many, many doors to our organization. I know that. And so that's why we want to be really careful. That's why we're starting small. Just like in starting with 200 students, and hopefully we can replicate our schools and also DC. So, how we got into this, what we have done so far with this 2020 strategic plan. First of all, we put together a steering committee of 10 people. And we had chiefs. When I say chiefs, I'm talking about chief operating officer at the central office, chief financial officer, chief academic officer, and chief HR person, personal officer. So all of us actually were in this steering committee, along with our cluster superintendent, so we can get feedback from cluster superintendents and a principal as a representative who was part of this steering committee, 10 people. We met with our Bellwether group almost 6-7 months, constantly face-to-face meetings and interviews over those 6 to actually create this collective strategic plan. Then, well, did a lot of surveys, interviews, on-site surveys, and then we finally have now 5 goals as part of our strategic plan, and a lot of specific initiatives that so far we're doing, and then create a growth plan along with core values. And I'm going to walk through quickly because we don't have a lot of time and really limited time, right? And because if I really go through this entire plan in detail, we can stay in until 5-6 p.m. today. So I'm going to do it in 30 minutes, so less than 30 minutes. And just that's why we're summarizing. All the detailed work, really, you're going to find out more when you go back to sessions. So first, so we have 5 goals. The first goal, and you can see the focus of our strategic plan is limited in the first 2 goals. First one is maximizing academic achievement for every child. Instead of growth, so we want to maximize our academic growth for our students. To do that, of course, we have to recruit, develop, and retain a talented workforce. That's our goal number 2. And then improve operational effectiveness. And Greg mentioned earlier in his presentation, teamwork and working together. When we first started this whole strategic plan issue, I mean, now we have reached a certain goal, certain size, and when I was asked from the business plan goals, what do you want to see? How do you want to see harmony? And my goal, my response was, I want to see. I didn't know, of course, Marriott services or Northland or Southwest, but my goal was, because I know when we started quality service, I said I want to see how is the Starbucks model. Every school you go, every place you go, you get great service, great same taste, same coffee, and everything is works perfect. And wherever you go, I mean, I went to Starbucks in Beijing, Hong Kong, and these get original Starbucks. So everywhere you go, it doesn't matter, you get the same quality and taste, same services, maybe just like Greg experienced in Marriott. So that was the premise where we started. I think now, with this many schools, with this many places, next 4 or 5 years we can achieve this in the school. And make sure that whatever we're doing in one school, successful, and we can share best practice and replicate it. Yesterday when I was sitting in my office, 8:15, and Commission of Education called. And I was just like, I'm normally in the office. I'm not in the office many times, as you know, everybody wishes me on my cell phone. And I picked up the phone, this is Michael Williams. Good morning. I said, Michael Williams, I have to think about who's Michael Williams. I'm looking at your star results. Yes, imagine people are paying attention to your success. As he said, I'm looking at your star results. You have phenomenal star results for this coming year. How do you do this? What is the secret sauce? And I was like, this is like, I'm sitting in the office working on another very important issue, and I said, so let me think about it. And I start telling our secret. This was when I said, sir, I cannot just summarize this over the phone. We need to sit down face to face. I can explain to you. I have a team of people that I don't do that. I don't do one. You guys do I can talk about, but if you really want us to visit, he wants a feedback from us because he said that the state rating scores plan lasts 10 years. There's no so how do we get this move towards up the rating scores? I said, I have a great team of folks, an academic team, and administrators, we can sit down and outline to you what needs to be done. So when we actually part of our first strategic plan was to one of our goals was to copy our model and replicate in other schools. I think After 14 years, people pay attention, and people continue to pay attention. Especially now, if we really successfully implement first two goals, I mean, definitely all of them are important. If we maximize our achievement and be central for everybody, it's not just for charter schools, public schools, or anywhere else. I think we can successfully achieve this. So the third goal, improve operational effectiveness, like being a Marriott model or Starbucks model. And then, of course, every step, we want to make sure that number 4, strengthen our financial stewardship at all levels. I mean, finance, unlike maybe a public school, they get their tax rates, they get their funding, regardless of what they do. But for us, we want to make sure our students come to us so we can make. So enrollment is critical piece. So far, across the figure, we don't have any enrollment issues because we have 40,000 plus people on our waiting list. But we never take that credit, and we should not just like proud and say, oh yeah, we don't need this. Definitely everyone our creditors should not customers. We treat them properly and keep them paying. So it becomes very critical financial issues. And then finally, public support. So still many people, after all, Montgomery public school system is the largest charter school system in Texas for sure, in terms of number of students, and possibly the nation, the largest nonprofit CMO in the nation, in the United States. But still, many people really don't know us as that impactful, powerful. I think we need more powerful ways to create a system. So it will happen. I know that it is going to happen. If we really examine quickly the first two goals, is of course successful people. Once we recruit, hire successful people, they will get quality work, and quality work will produce successful students. That's the summary of first two goals. And then we have so many initiatives already started on the way, and one of them is the professional evaluation system. And evaluation system that you're going to use, you're going to implement. Really, it's not just to hire and fire purposes. And from day one, we talk about this, that the purpose of creating an evaluation system, teacher evaluation system, is already designed, is really to basically create a professional development system that really help our teachers with your help, and then basically help them go through create a successful system, so that we can produce results for our students. And many of those initiatives actually probably in each of these detail, but so I'm just like scanning through some of those. So again, in our second goal, recruiting best teachers and retaining them are key factors. Many times, when the first school starts in first location, we have high turnover rate because it's starting a new business. And I think although it's understandable, but we should try to minimize it. And when we first started every time unfortunately it happens, starting a new business is not easy. Now we have opened 4 schools this year, and I find that a couple of them are some delay in construction, delay opening in construction. And it's an unfortunate event. It's maybe we have really not much control of the process, but it affects the outcome. And what happens though, we want to make sure that you don't feel that what goes behind the scene. And even first year, when we first started in Houston, we had a lot of issues with challenges, and we're going to continue having those challenges as we expand and establish more, especially during the transition time. And of course, we don't let other people feel that this is affecting their education. And like I give an example, when we first started our lunch break, for example, our lunch break was over 1 hour. Lunch break, 1 hour 20 minutes. And because I grew up in Turkey, right? We had a lunch break 1 hour 30 minutes, and I would actually go back to home and eat lunch and come back to school. It was a neighborhood school. And I could, we do the same thing. Why don't we just give time to students and they can go grab something and relax and eat lunch? And this is again, just like I mentioned, this was some of August 28th was the first day of school in Houston. We let the kids go outside and play baseball. We have an HEB next door. I mean, we couldn't get the kids back to school now. It was so hot, they were playing soccer, basketball outside. It was so sweet and smelly. And after the first week, Friday, got together and we decided our schedule. We said lunch break is 50 minutes. Still 50 minutes. And then on the next Friday, we actually measured how long did it take for kids to eat lunch at school. It was 23 minutes. So after 15 days, lunch break was 23 minutes. I mean, this is a little one's experience. So as an administrator, you will definitely, as you go through, if you see something doesn't work, you have to let your principal, your central office people know that this doesn't work. Same thing during this. I'm sure that earlier presentation talked about the process changing and people being used to what we used to do. We need to change a lot of things in our organization. So that's why it's critical that everybody should have open mind and so that we can embrace the changes in our organization. All right. And in terms of operational effectiveness, one of the biggest challenges that we have is our communication among, basically between central office and campuses or among schools. Hopefully there's a lot of initiatives that we started working at, maybe address some of those communication issues, whether internal or external, and we have a great team at the central office. And we definitely want to feedback. In terms of operation, we have so many initiatives that we can go through, and we will find out more so that we can be effective and in terms of operation. And again, our priority, academic outcome overweighs our expansion. Although, as I mentioned, we get a lot of requests from our parents and state officials to open more schools. We will decline that offer because we want to focus on our academics. We want to make sure that our academic income increases every year. Okay. So, we also come up with core values. And this core values was decided as a result of a large survey. And one other thing that I want to mention that I think validated the first survey, if I remember correctly, we had 100% response. And I was surprised, and everybody was surprised, that there is no survey that I know, unless I don't know, that you get 100% response. That is unheard of. So that tells us that you really want us to do something with this plan. So I'm happy, I'm grateful for your input. That contributed a lot to this business plan along with this core values. So thank you. So 5 core values. The first and most important one is the high expectation. Basically, we want to make sure that every child will learn and grow into a successful and productive citizen. We expect high from our students. We expect high from our administrators and basically every level across the superintendents. And speaking high, obviously, some of you will get a new position and move from place to place. But it's also, once we get to a certain level, I know some of you want to step up and do more. If this is maybe my promise to you, that if you tell other people, a central office, we help other schools, other organizations how to set up a school. And I told people that if you're interested in starting a school and do something different, unique than what we do, we certainly encourage everybody, anyone who wants to really come up and say, I'm going to open a school, a different model, whether it's a part of harmony or it's a separate entity. I am for it, and we're ready to have it. Because I know, we're not going to open as many schools as we want. So there will be less position, but those who want to continue with leader, in together with the Harmony or somewhere else for studying would definitely help. And because we are capable of helping, many of the state officials feel that value our opinion. If we say we can help or will help students, they will get their charge. And so far we have helped so many people. Dedicated staff, and without you, without our teachers, there will be no harmony. I always repeatedly tell this. That's another program, dedicated staff. And secret source of our organization also invested embedded in these 5 programs. Our expectation is part of our secret source. Everybody works hard, you know that. And dedicated staff is another part. Working together, collaborative, working together. It is another based program that contributes our success. We share our practices. That's one of the reasons we all get together. Our first major teacher in-service that we did actually in Marriott in Woodland in 2005, when we had 4 schools. We had 120 people total, including teachers, everybody. It was only 120. Now we have close to 300 people just administrators. Sharing best practices will lead us to this level. And character matters. It's a 4th program. Again, it's really difficult to teach like coaches every at the school, and it's part of our program. And STEM, definitely, it's bread and butter. Although we teach every subject, and we have now specialized schools in politics, art, music, still our core component or level is STEM for all. So I think we can continue memorize those 5 core values, and then so we can be on the same page. And this is my final slide. So there are so much things to cover throughout this coming years, and those are going to be covered, of course, by individual principal administrators or chiefs here. But I want to thank you for being part of Harmony. I want to thank you for putting up with us, being patient with us. I promise that Harmony is going to go to the next level. If we do really implement all our initiatives. There are 40 plus 42 different initiatives, right? 47 initiatives. A lot of initiatives, a lot of things that we do. And, of course, some of them will continue during the 4 or 5 years. Some of them that we actually start right now, we implemented some of them beginning in about a couple of years or so. And you can find out details in those initiatives in our booklets or in our upward strategic plan. So to realize this, to accomplish this strategic plan 2020, Vision 2020, it depends on you, it depends on your support, it depends on your collaboration. So I want to thank you again for being part of our school system. And we'll continue to grow, and we'll continue to give you feedback about our DC school. And we spend, probably at Stanford, we spend more attention on our schools in DC than maybe some of our schools. But it is really critical, and it is important that we do it right, we start right. And so far, we want to start with 200 students. We found the building enrollment. We have 144 applications. Years ago, in grade school negotiations, we wanted 200 students. And we were going to Walmart, Kmart, in front of all those places, and distributing flyers. Of course, we were doing the same thing in DC, door by door. So we have 144 by August 25th. We're hoping that we have 200 students, so we can start. So thank you again for being here. I wish you success for every year.
So much, Dr. Tara. Again, please let's give our leader a round of applause. I'm not exactly in the habit, and I'm sure none of you are, keeping secrets from the CEO. video, so I'm a little nervous right now. But I'd like to call up our HPS Board Vice President, Mrs. Ellen, special presentation for Dr. Chair.
Presented to Dr. Soner Tarn in recognition of your dedication, leadership, and continued service to Harmony Public Schools, students, parents, and staff. For several years, I'm not sure. Somebody says, how long have you been on the board? And I don't remember what year I said I was. But to watch the growth, but it happens because of you all out there. I want you to know that the board does really recognize and appreciate that. It's what you do that makes me proud to be able to say to someone, yes, I'm on the board of Harmony Charter Schools. And I want you to know, I was listening to Mr. Gregory's challenging presentation this morning, and I was thinking of those words, if it is to be, it is up to me. And how does that apply to the board? And it is our responsibility to support you all in the things that you see are good for Harmony, and as it works its way up to us, the recommendations you make, then it is up to us to support you, and we do feel that. I want you to know that, to help find the resources and to help make possible your dream and your vision for Harmony, which you have been doing so wonderfully for so many years. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mrs. McDonald. Yes, you can have a seat. Wonderful. So I'd like to go ahead and ask you to turn your attention again, once again, really briefly to the screen for a couple of videos. I do want to let you know that we are more than halfway time, so you should all be very excited about that. But before we do a few more things, please direct your attention to the screen.
Yeah.
If this is your personal password,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna, this next week, there will be training for technology teachers. I'll arrange one guy in each location. They're gonna do everything
Okay. Right.
for airports and for locations so they can watch. Are you gonna go to the office today?
What do you want? It's right.
This thing.
1 hour and a half.
Montgomery is already here, right? Montgomery is here. There's Dr. Williams' session. After lunch,
Okay. Concrete dot managing.
Not or bench.
Dot. Yeah, Harmony Broadcast at your gmail.com. Oh, most. You tell me that. Yeah. Stop.